Shuffle Dice. This is a game that I acquired in, well, interesting circumstances. We were visiting some friends for spring break. Those friends have 2 kids that are 3 and 4, and they're not very strong players. Their parents, I believe, don't play as many board games as I play with my daughters, but then not many parents do. But I really believe that there is a game out there for everybody. So I was trying to identify what is a game that could work with them, a game that I could play with these 2 kids and with my daughters together. And it didn't take me long to see that there is something that those 2 kids really enjoyed, and that something is to throw stuff, to throw toys, to throw game components of games that are not throwing games. Well, armed with that knowledge, I went to a local game store, and lo and behold, I was able to find a game where you do throw stuff, and it is a game that is simple enough that I believe a 3-year-old could play. The game is Shuffle Dice, so even if it says 8 or plus, you know, these estimates are always very conservative. We played the game with a 3-year-old, with a 4-year-old, and they could definitely understand the game. Yes, the adults kept score for them, but the concept was pretty basic. The game comes with this board here. It is folded when it is in the box. You have to apply a little bit of gentle strength to make sure that it lays flat. This is very important because it is a dexterity game. You're going to throw/roll dice on this board here. Each player receives 2 sets of dice, 3 12-sided dice and 3 20-sided dice. It would have been great if the dice had been slightly different from one another. Say the blue dice, the 12-sided, of a different hue or nuance of blue from the 20-sided. Would make it easier when you're playing with really young players for them to tell them apart. But again, I simply say, now we roll these ones, now we roll these ones. And the kids were able to then play the game. The game is played in sets. Each set is divided in 3 rounds. The first round you will use only 12-sided dice. The second round only the 3 20-sided dice. The third round the players will still roll only 3 dice, but they will choose any combination of 12-sided and 20-sided. When it is your turn, you take a die and you throw it. You throw it on the board so that it rolls on the board, and you're trying to get as close as possible to that edge there, that edge on the opposite end of the board, without going out of it. So that was not a particularly successful example. Man, Blue, what are you doing? Calm down. Then Blue is not being very successful, but suppose that actually, yay, this is the final result at the end of that. Once all dice have been rolled, you score. The only player that scores for position is the player that has the closest die, that is the closest to that edge. In this case, only the red player. The die that is the closest there scores the number on the area in which the die is. So this die would be 3 points. Also, you get to score, if you have to play with the closest die, each other die which is closer than any die of the opponent. Basically, in this case, only red player scores for placement, for position, and the player gets to score 2 dice because there are 2 dice before there is any blue. If this was the situation, red would only score 1 die, that one. So 3 points for red, or 6 points for red, or 5 points for red. Also, the player that rolled the single highest number, so completely random thing, will score a point. In this case, say, blue doesn't score anything for placement, but manages to score a point for rolling a 12, and everybody else rolled a 10. If there's a tie, no one gets that point. So this is how the first round works. The second round is identical, but you use 20-sided dice instead. And you also, you can also hit dice of the opponent, trying to get them off the board, not necessarily try to get them in even better positions. And this time, again, you score, suppose there's a situation, again, you score the closest to the edge, the dice of the same color that are as closer than those of the opponent, single highest result gets a point, and so on and so forth. There is a little bit, very little, but a little bit of strategy the third round when you can decide the combination of dice that you want to roll. Because suppose the people have rolled 20-sided dice and they roll fairly low numbers, say a 5 and a 6. 12-sided dice, I noticed, tend to be a little more reliable. They tend to roll more, and it's rare they get stuck on a single side, and you know, pretty much they slow down suddenly because they get stuck on a side. If they roll, they roll. As you can see, you can trust them. As opposed to the 20-sided, very often they roll a little bit and then they just get stuck and stop. So you don't know exactly when they're going to stop. They're less reliable in terms of how much distance they will cover. So basically, if in the third round the opponent has rolled 20-sided dice, or in any case has rolled dice with low numbers, you may decide to use the 12-sided die because it's more reliable in terms of rolling and position, and also you're still getting a decent chance of getting that extra point that you get for rolling the highest number. But if the opponent has rolled a 20 or a 14, then you know that the 12 die will not give you that point, but you may still decide to go for it because it makes sense for a position. It's a hint of strategy. It's not going to say, oh my god, such a deep and amazing game. It's a dexterity game. It's a throwing game where you throw dice. So it has pluses and minuses. The minuses are absolutely very little or no strategy. It's only in the dexterity. The pluses, however, are not inconsiderable. It's simple, visceral fun. You play a die, you place a dice there, and somebody knocks it out. It's fun, especially if a kid does it to an adult. When an adult does it to a kid, they don't necessarily like it all that much. But we didn't have anybody cry when that happened, so that is good. I guess it's not as emotionally intense as other games where, you know, a kid feels like, hey, you worked very hard to form this set and now you stole it from me. Yeah, you kick out one of their dice and then they are going again. The game is so fast. Even if the kids don't score very well one round, you're playing again, they get a possibility for a rematch. And there is enough randomness here that chances are the kids, even younger kids, can still do reasonably well against adults, even if the adults are not playing under their best capabilities. Even if the players are not trying to, the adults are not trying to help the kids still stand a decent chance. So there's randomness. It's a dexterity game with little to no depth, and what do you know, it's pretty fun. It is a game that we could play with a 3 and a 4-year-old that I'm not sure we would have been able to play games much more complex than this one, and that's perfectly fine. That's appropriate to their age. What I'm trying to say is that really it is an intergenerational game. A 30-year-old can play with a 3-year-old, and it's not like you're playing, I don't know, children games with bunnies and fairies and glitter everywhere, etc., etc. It is a simple, very nice, it's a simple, very light and fairly entertaining game. It is more entertaining than you would expect, but on the other hand, again, nothing special. Heck, now that you know the rules, probably you'll be able to make your own copy just with dice that you have at home, and you know, you draw with a chalk on the pavement or on your table, or you take a long sheet of paper. You should them, because if you got the idea from this video, it would be nice if you, of course, supported the publisher, but heck, I don't know what you're gonna do at home. How can I police you and stop you from doing whatever you want to do? Shuffle dice in general, not a great game, mind you, not a great game by any means, but a fairly entertaining one, a random one that, when you're in the right mood, can be fun, can be amusing, can result in some interesting moments, some cheers, some face palms, that kind of stuff. Also, a game that you can play with very young children, and it'll be able to understand what the game is about. So, Shuffle dice, nothing special, but not a bad game.